first monologue we're going to hear is by Rex McGregor. By the way, Rex McGregor won the top prize in the Hear Me Out monologue competition this last fall. You can find his award-winning monologue at Hear Me Out YouTube channel. This piece is called FRIDA KAHLO Must Be Jewish. It's written by Rex McGregor and it's performed by Carmen, Noemi, Guzman.
I'm not angry. Far from it. I'm delighted to have this opportunity to expose a gross injustice and ensure the university maintains its reputation for academic excellence and professional integrity. May I begin by expressing my thanks? I'm sincerely grateful to every member of the review board for taking the time out from your busy schedules to hear my appeal. Fairness is obviously important to you. Mucho kudos. For those not fully conversant with the details of my plight, allow me to recap. My name is Rachel Consuelo Fernandez Klingenhofer. I'm a postgraduate student in the final stages of completing my PhD in art history. At least, I hope I am. Depends on your good judgment. After many months of meticulous research, I recently submitted my thesis, Jewish Mexicana Mashup, How Frida Kahlo's Dual Heritage Shaped Her Art and Her Life. Oh, I see the title is raising the odd eyebrow. As expected, the word mashup doesn't sound very scholarly. I agree. It's there to attract young hip book buyers. I hope to make a killing in the commercial market, but that's a little further down the track. To get the thesis accepted, I'm more than happy to compromise. Let's call it Jewish Mexicana Fusion. Or, if you really want to push those erudite buttons, Hebraic Hispanic Synthesis. Oh, fine by me. I can always revert to my original title later on when I'm negotiating in advance with the publisher. Oh, I hope you appreciate my accommodating attitude. I'm not one of those diva authors who refuse to change a single word of a precious masterpiece. A willingness to embrace criticism is essential in the literary world. So, when I submitted my thesis last week, I was quite prepared for a measured response. In fact, I was rather looking forward to making revisions. You know, the odd tweak here and there. Well, everything can be improved. But imagine my utter shock when my work was returned to me, rejected. Less than an hour after I had handed it in. My supervisor, Professor Martinez, didn't even pretend to read it. He simply dismissed it with a 3-word comment scrawled in red ink on the front page. An extremely offensive 3-word comment. A 3-word comment that without your timely intervention and stern rebuke would go down in the annals of this institution as its most humiliating scandal and stand on record throughout the world as the worst possible example of the abuse of academic power. Kahlo wasn't Jewish. Well, of course she wasn't. From a strictly genealogical standpoint, Jewishness is traditionally determined by matrilineal descent. And Frida's mother was clearly not a Jew. She was a mestiza, half Spanish, half Native American, half Spanish, half Native Mexican. Frida never claimed to be Jewish, except once, to show her solidarity with a persecuted ethnic minority. She and Rivera were famous guests staying at a hotel in Detroit. When they learned the establishment excluded Jews, they said they had Jewish blood and forced the management to end the discrimination. Well, the irony is that Frida actually believed she did have Jewish blood from her father. And here we come to the crux of the issue. Was even her father Jewish? Professor Martinez says no, apparently swayed by a decade-old biography of Guillermo Kahlo. I haven't bothered to consult this tome myself, but I gather it suggests the Kahlos were Gentiles, Lutheran Protestants. A number of respected genealogical researchers have backed up this claim. And who am I to dispute their conclusion? But genealogy isn't my field. Personally, I think the whole family history thing is highly suspect, or at best, naive. I mean, an entry in a parish Bible is it's hardly scientific proof of paternity. Run some DNA tests and find out what our grandmothers really got up to. but all this is irrelevant. Who cares if Frida's dad wasn't Jewish? I never said he was. My argument is simply that Frida believed he was. Perhaps Professor Martinez won't even swallow this. Perhaps he thinks she only pretended to have Jewish blood, ancestry. She only pretended to have Jewish ancestry. Well, he wouldn't be the first to make such an accusation. Was she trying to play down her Teutonic Germanness to avoid any associations with the Nazis? Or was she making a provocative fashion statement in the relatively safety of Mexico? Again, who cares? My thesis refers to Frida's Jewish heritage. Webster's dictionary defines heritage as something transmitted by or acquired from a predecessor. Note the word acquired. Does it make any difference why or how Frida acquired her Jewish identity? The point is, she did acquire it and cherished it, as you will read in my book when it is published. Oh. Speaking of book, I've consulted the University Code of Conduct, and I'm happy to report it will be perfectly appropriate for me to include all your names amongst the acknowledgements. I genuinely appreciate your ruling in my favor. One question remains. How will you deal with Professor Martinez? I certainly don't insist on his dismissal. A retraction and personal apology will do. Well, I see no need for this misunderstanding to be leaked to the media. A cynic might encourage me to snag the publicity for my book, but I gladly sacrifice financial profit. The department's reputation is far more important to me. Well, thank you once again. I'm so pleased we've reached a satisfactory result for all concerned. But just as well I didn't burst in here in a raging fury, playing the anti-Semitism card. Fortunately, my fiery Latina temper is calmed by my long-suffering Jewish tolerance. I enjoy the best of both worlds, like Frida.